Imagine a life where your worth is measured in stock prices, your choices are scripted by boardrooms, and your happiness is a footnote in a merger agreement. Mia O'Connor grew up in a world where everything sparkled, but none of it was real. Her father, the iron-fisted CEO of O'Connor Industries, built an empire on the illusion of perfection. But what happens when the heiress decides the cage is gilded but still a prison? When she trades diamonds for dreams and runs, not to another penthouse, but to a town where no one knows her name? Welcome to a story where love isn't a transaction, rebellion isn't a phase, and the biggest risk isn't running away, it's staying. Because Mia didn't just escape her father's empire, she fell for Oliver Reed, a mechanic with a past as complicated as hers. He sees her not as a heiress, but as Maya, the woman who laughs at skipping stones and draws constellations in the dust. But Oliver has secrets too, shadows from a mistake that haunts him. Now, as paparazzi swarm Willow Creek and Mia's father offers millions for her return, two questions burn brighter than the media's flashbulbs: can love survive when both people are hiding? And will Mia choose the legacy she was born into, or the life she fought to build? Mia O'Connor always knew her life wasn't her own. Born into a family where wealth was measured in boardroom deals and happiness was a carefully curated illusion, she grew up watching her father, the legendary CEO of O'Connor Industries, turn their mansion into a gilded prison. The golden cage, her nanny used to whisper when Mr. O'Connor wasn't around, is the heaviest to break. Mia learned early to smile through the charity galas, to nod during merger discussions that made her head spin, and to hide her paint-stained fingers when they clashed against the polished marble of her bedroom. Her wardrobe was a catalogue of designer labels that itched against her skin, each dress a reminder that she was a pawn in a game she never agreed to play. At 28, Mia's existence was a series of scheduled perfection: board meetings where her opinion was politely ignored, charity events where photographers snapped her like she was a trophy to be displayed, and a fiancé, hand-picked by her father, who sent her flowers that smelled of obligation rather than love. "You'll thank me someday," her father would say, adjusting her diamond necklace, oblivious to the way her knuckles whitened around the small sketchbook she kept hidden in a floorboard. The cage wasn't just gold, it was suffocating, and the air inside grew thinner every day as Mia watched her dreams of becoming an artist fade into the background noise of a life that wasn't hers to choose. The engagement party was supposed to be Mia's crowning moment, but it felt more like a funeral for her dreams. There she stood, champagne flute clinking emptily against her palm, as her father toasted to the strategic union between O'Connor Industries and the Vanderbilt family. "Isn't it wonderful?" gushed Mrs. Vanderbilt, her pearls winking like judgmental eyes. Mia forced a smile, the diamond ring on her finger heavy as a manacle. She'd known Jonathan Vanderbilt since childhood, knew the way he laughed too loud at his own jokes, how his passion for art extended only to expensive replicas, and how his touch during their mandatory photo ops made her skin crawl. "I need air," she muttered, escaping to the garden where the night air bit through her silk wrap. Leaning against the fountain, she pressed her forehead against cool stone, remembering the feel of paint beneath her fingers, the freedom of anonymous laughter. "You'll thank me someday," her father's voice echoed in her mind, but all she could think was, "I'm suffocating." Somewhere beyond the manicured hedges, a car horn blared, a sound so ordinary, yet today it pierced her like a revelation. What if she just didn't come back? The thought fluttered, dangerous and beautiful, as the first tear escaped, hot against her cheek. Mia's suitcase was packed in less than 10 minutes, just a small leather bag with 3 changes of clothes, her sketchbook, and the emergency cash she'd stashed away for years, just in case. The security cameras at O'Connor Industries had always felt like eyes on the back of her neck, but tonight, as she slipped through the service entrance, they seemed to blink at her like judgmental sentinels. "Don't look back," she whispered to her reflection in the parking garage, where her father's company car usually waited. Instead, she hailed a cab, heart pounding as she rattled off the address of a budget motel across town, a place she'd spotted once during a rare solo coffee run. The driver glanced at her through the rearview mirror, eyebrows raised at her sudden appearance in a taxi at 2:30 a.m. "Long night?" he asked. "You have no idea," Mia said, forcing a laugh that felt foreign on her lips. As the city lights blurred behind her, she pulled out her phone, fingers hovering over the power button. One text, one call, and her father's private investigators would be swarming the motel within the hour. With a deep breath, she shut it off completely, the first truly rebellious act of her life. Freedom tasted like the bitter edge of uncertainty, but it was a flavor she could grow to love. The town of Willow Creek was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, and strangers stood out like a sore thumb, until Mia arrived. She'd chosen it for that very reason, its obscurity, its lack of paparazzi, and the way the morning mist clung to the cobblestone streets like a secret. At the local diner, she introduced herself as Maya Carter, a name borrowed from a childhood friend and a town she'd once visited. "I'm just passing through," she lied, her voice steady as she ordered coffee black, hoping the waitress wouldn't notice the way her hands shook. The waitress, a woman with a name tag reading Doris, squinted at her. "Haven't seen you around before," she said, wiping down the counter with a rag that had seen better days. "Just here for the art festival," Mia blurted, her fingers tightening around the sketchbook in her bag. "I'm an artist." Doris raised an eyebrow. "Well, our festival's more about pumpkins than paintings, but you're welcome to try." As Mia sipped her coffee, she watched children chase each other out the window, their laughter free and unscripted. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like she was acting. The town was small, the people unassuming, and the air didn't smell of money or obligation. It smelled of pine, of rain-soaked earth, of possibility. But as she scribbled a job application at the bulletin board, waitress needed at the Cozy Corner Cafe, she wondered if blending in would be as easy as it seemed. After all, lies had a way of catching up, didn't they? Especially when the person you were hiding from had resources that could turn Willow Creek upside down with a single phone call. The Cozy Corner Cafe smelled like cinnamon and yesterday's newspaper, a comforting contrast to the sterile perfection of Mia's former life. On her first day of work, she fumbled with the coffee machine, scalding her fingers as she tried to make a latte. "Need a hand?" came a voice from behind the counter. Oliver Reed leaned against the counter, his mechanic's overalls smudged with oil, a grin that made Mia's stomach flip. He was the kind of man who didn't fit into categories, too rugged for a banker, too thoughtful for a mechanic, with eyes that held the kind of warmth you'd associate with someone who'd seen both the best and worst of life. "I'm Oliver," he said, extending a calloused hand. "I fix cars. Sometimes people." Mia laughed, the sound catching her off guard. "I'm Maya," she said, the lie rolling off her tongue with surprising ease. "I fix coffee. Sometimes." Oliver raised an eyebrow. "Well, if you ever need someone to fix something bigger, you know where to find me." As the morning rush died down, Mia found herself stealing glances at him, how he chatted with regulars about their kids, how he left a generous tip despite his own frayed jacket, how he didn't flinch when she accidentally spilled sugar on his boots. "You're new around here," he said later, wiping down his hands on a rag. "Haven't seen you before." "Just here for the art festival," Mia said, her pulse quickening. "Tourists ask where the nearest mall is. You asked for the cheapest apartment in town." His smile was disarming. "Don't worry, I won't rat you out. Yet." Mia realized then that Oliver wasn't just a stranger, he was the first person in years who saw her, not her name, not her past, just her. And that was dangerous. Because if he ever found out the truth, that warmth in his eyes might turn to something colder, something she wasn't sure she could survive. Mia had never scrubbed floors before. The realization hit her as she knelt in the staff bathroom at the Cozy Corner Cafe, her manicured nails blackened by grime, but for the first time in years, she felt something strange and exhilarating, normal. Oliver had taught her how to make the perfect latte, 3 pumps of vanilla, never 4, and how to charm regulars into leaving bigger tips. "Just listen," he'd said, "people love to feel heard." Mia discovered she liked listening. Mrs. Thompson, the elderly widow who came in every morning at 7:15 sharp, always ordered black coffee and talked about her late husband's love for jazz. Mr. Patel, the hardware store owner, complained about his daughter's insistence on painting the shop neon pink. Mia laughed with them, her responses unscripted, her smiles genuine. When Oliver caught her humming while restocking sugar packets, he raised an eyebrow. "Never pegged you for a morning person." "Turns out," Mia said, wiping her ink-stained hands on her apron, "I like mornings here." The freedom was intoxicating, no boardroom agendas, no photographers lurking outside, just the clatter of dishes and the warmth of shared stories. That night, as she walked home under a sky heavy with stars, Mia paused, sketchbook pressed to her chest. She drew the cafe's neon sign glowing in the rain, the way Oliver's laugh lines deepened when he smiled, the way Mrs. Thompson's eyes lit up when she talked about jazz. It was a small life, but it was hers. And for the first time, she didn't feel like she was acting. But as she turned the key in her apartment door, a cramped, sunlit space above the hardware store, she wondered how long she could keep this life separate from the one she'd left behind. The answer, she feared, was written in the fine print of her father's relentless determination. The laughter started with something silly, a raccoon that knocked over the cafe's trash can at closing time, sending coffee cups flying. Oliver and Mia ended up on the sidewalk, sides splitting as they watched the creature scuttle away with a napkin in its mouth. "That's the most action this town's ever seen," Oliver gasped, wiping tears from his eyes. Mia realized then that she hadn't laughed like that in years, not since before her mother died and her life became a series of scheduled smiles. Over the next weeks, their bond deepened in quiet moments, sharing a thermos of hot chocolate during a power outage, trading stories about their childhoods, Mia inventing a simpler past, Oliver talking about growing up in a trailer park, and even fixing Oliver's ancient truck together in the cafe's parking lot. "You're surprisingly good with a wrench," Oliver said, handing her a grease-stained rag. "You're surprisingly good at keeping secrets," Mia shot back, the joke hanging between them like an unspoken truth. They began to meet outside work, hiking trails where ferns brushed their knees, picnics by the lake where Oliver taught her to skip stones, the secrets in the wrist, not the arm, and nights spent stargazing, mapping constellations with fingers and whispers. "I never thought I'd stay in a place like this," Mia admitted one evening, leaning against Oliver's shoulder as fireflies blinked around them. "Funny how life works," Oliver said, his voice soft. "Sometimes the best adventures are the ones you never planned." The trust between them grew like ivy, slow, steady, until Mia found herself wondering if she could finally be honest. But the fear of losing this fragile connection kept her tongue still, her truths locked in the same compartment as her old life. After all, what if the moment shattered the moment she spoke? The confession almost slipped out during a thunderstorm. Mia and Oliver were huddled in his tiny apartment above the garage, the rain hammering against the windows as they shared a bottle of cheap wine. "You ever feel like you're living a lie?" Oliver asked suddenly, his blue eyes shadowed. Mia's fork paused midair. "All the time," she said, her voice catching. "Me too," Oliver said, swirling his wine. "Not because I'm hiding who I am, but because of who I'm not." He traced the rim of his glass, the confession hanging between them like a charged wire. Mia's heart raced. Was this her moment to confess? To tell him about the trust funds, the private jets, the life she'd fled? But before she could speak, Oliver continued. "I told everyone I left the city because I wanted a simpler life. Truth is, I had no choice. I messed up, badly. A car accident, someone got hurt. The town I'm from. They never forgave me." Mia's breath hitched. "So you ran?" "I ran to become," Oliver said, his voice raw. "Just like you." Mia realized then that their secrets were two sides of the same coin, hers a cage of gold, his a shadow of guilt. Both of them hiding, both of them running. As the storm raged outside, their laughter, the kind born of shared vulnerability, mingled with the thunder. But Mia still didn't tell him. Because some truths, she feared, might be too heavy for two people already carrying invisible burdens. And yet, in that moment, she wondered, could their combined strength finally break the weight of their secrets? Oliver's suspicions began with the coffee. "You order black coffee one day, then switch to vanilla lattes the next," he said one morning, leaning against the cafe counter with arms crossed. Mia's fork froze midair. "Mood swings," she laughed, a little too brightly. "Or maybe you're not the artist you claim to be," Oliver pressed gently. "Why would you say that?" Mia's smile faltered. "Because real artists don't flinch when someone critiques their work," he said, pulling a crumpled sketch from his pocket, the one she'd left behind during the power outage. Mia's throat tightened as Oliver traced the charcoal lines depicting Willow Creek's lake at dawn. "This is incredible," he said. "But you signed it, Mia's blood ran cold. "Just a habit," she stammered, reaching for the sketch. Oliver held it out of reach. "And why does a passing-through artist know the CEO of O'Connor Industries' daughter is missing?" Mia's chair scraped against the floor as she stood. "How did you?" "Small town," Oliver shrugged. "People talk." "And your reaction when Mrs. Thompson mentioned the O'Connor merger?" "Classic guilt." The cafe suddenly felt airless. Mia grabbed her coat, her mind racing. "I need to go." "Mia," Oliver started. "Maya," she corrected, her voice breaking. "My name's Maya." But as she fled into the rain, Oliver's words chased her. "Why run when you finally found someone who sees you?" The question hung in the downpour, mixing with the lies she tried so hard to outrun. The knock came at dawn, the kind that makes your blood freeze before you even open the door. Mia swung it open to find a reporter from Gossip Weekly shoving a microphone into her face. "Is it true you're Mia O'Connor, the missing heiress?" the woman shouted, her breath fogging in the morning air. Behind her, a camera crew jostled for position, their lenses devouring Mia's panic. I'm Maya," she stammered, but the name felt like ash on her tongue. "Sources confirm you've been living under an alias in Willow Creek," the reporter pressed, her voice cutting through the fog. "Your father's offering $10 million for your return." $10 million. The world tilted as Mia stumbled back, the door slamming behind her. By noon, the town was a zoo, satellite trucks lining Main Street, drones buzzing overhead, Mrs. Thompson sobbing into her coffee about the nice girl who served us lies. Oliver found her in the apartment, packing frantically, her hands trembling as she stuffed clothes into a duffel bag. "They found me," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Always knew they would." He held out a hand, calloused and steady. "We'll face this together." But Mia saw the doubt flicker in his eyes, the same doubt that had made her hide the truth. "Your accident," she blurted, "was it really an accident?" Oliver's jaw tightened. "Does it matter now?" Outside, the media circus raged on, their headlines screaming "Runaway Heiress Found." "Love Scandal Unfolds in Quiet Town." Mia pressed her back against the wall, the lies piling up like kindling. Somewhere, her father was smiling, probably sipping whiskey in his penthouse, waiting for her to crack. Oliver stood in the doorway, the morning light cutting through the chaos outside. Mia's apartment smelled of her, lavender and coffee, but the air between them was thick with betrayal. $10 million, he said finally, the words tasting bitter. "That's what they're offering for your return." Mia turned away, her shoulders hunched as if bracing for impact. "It's not about the money," she whispered. "It's about control. My father, he's a black hole. He consumes everything." Oliver's laugh was humorless. "And what does that make us? Stardust in his path." He stepped closer, his voice rising. "You think I didn't notice the way you flinched every time someone mentioned O'Connor Industries? Or how you kept your phone off like it was a grenade?" Mia's eyes glistened. "I was trying to protect us." "Protect us from what?" Oliver's chest heaved. "From the truth. From me." The question hung between them, sharp as a blade. Mia reached for him, but Oliver stepped back. "You kept me at arm's length from the start. Every lie was a brick in a wall. And now." He ran a hand through his hair, the gesture raw with frustration. Now I don't know if the woman I fell for even exists. Mia's breath hitched. She does. I swear she does. But as Oliver turned away, his silhouette framed by the chaos outside, Mia wondered if the foundation of their bond had ever been more than quicksand. Somewhere, a reporter shouted her name, the sound blending with the echo of Oliver's disappointment. Love, she realized, wasn't just trust, it was a gamble. And she'd hedged her bets with lies. The black sedan pulled up outside the cafe at 3:05 p.m., its polished surface gleaming under the harsh lights of the media circus. Mia recognized it before she saw him, the same vehicle that had ferried her to debutante balls and shareholder meetings, where her role was to smile and not make waves. Inside stood her father, Richard O'Connor, flanked by 2 bodyguards and a lawyer whose smile was all teeth and no warmth. "Miss O'Connor," the lawyer began, stepping forward with a clipboard in hand, "your father is offering full amnesty for your indiscretion. On one condition." Mia's knuckles whitened around the coffee mug she was holding. "That I come back and pretend none of this happened." The lawyer's pen hovered over the contract. "In so many words, yes." Behind him, Richard adjusted his cufflinks, his gaze sweeping the cafe as if assessing its worth. "This place, it's charming," he said, sarcasm dripping. "But it's not your world, Mia." Oliver appeared from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a rag. "Everything okay?" he asked, his voice steady despite the storm brewing in his eyes. Richard's eyebrow arched. "And who is this?" "Someone who actually sees me," Mia said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Unlike you, who only sees a merger." The lawyer cleared his throat. "The offer stands for 48 hours. As they left, the lawyer handed Mia a card. "Call us when you're ready to make the right choice." Mia watched them go, the weight of expectations pressing down like a physical force. Oliver touched her shoulder gently. "You don't have to do this alone." But Mia knew that some battles couldn't be fought with someone else by your side, not when the enemy held all the cards. The clock ticked louder in Mia's apartment, each second a drumbeat of impending choice. The lawyer's card sat on the kitchen counter, its pristine white surface mocking her. On one side lay the life she'd fled, a world of tailored suits, boardroom battles, and a father who valued stock prices over her happiness. On the other side was Oliver, his mechanic's overalls perpetually smudged with oil, his laughter that made her forget how to breathe, and the way he looked at her as if she were the only star in a galaxy of distractions. "You can't have both," Oliver had said that morning, his voice gentle but firm as he handed her a mug of chamomile tea. "But what if I don't want either?" she'd whispered, tracing the steam rising from the cup. Oliver's silence had been answer enough. Now, as the deadline loomed, Mia paced the floor, her bare feet cold against the wooden planks. Outside, the media circus had quieted, replaced by an eerie stillness that felt like the calm before a storm. She thought of the sketch she'd drawn days earlier, Oliver teaching her to skip stones at the lake, their shadows dancing on the water. "Love without a last name," she murmured, recalling the title of one of the books she'd found in the cafe's second-hand bin. Love wasn't a merger. It wasn't a contract. It was messy, unscripted, and terrifyingly free. But could she truly walk away from the legacy her family had built on the backs of others? And if she stayed, would Oliver ever truly see her, or just the ghost of the woman she'd been? The answer, when it came, wasn't a shout but a whisper, "I choose us." But whispers couldn't silence the storm that followed. The decision came at midnight, the kind of hour that makes cowards of us all. Mia stood at the edge of Willow Creek's lake, the moonlight turning the water into liquid silver. In her hand, the lawyer's card felt like a weight, a paper anchor dragging her back to a life she'd sworn to leave behind. "You don't have to do this," Oliver's voice cut through the silence, his presence a warm breath against her neck. Mia turned, her eyes glistening. "If I stay, they'll destroy you. My father's lawyers, his money, they'll paint you as a gold digger, a fool who thought he could climb the social ladder." Oliver took her face in his hands, his thumbs brushing away tears. And if I go with you? What then? Mia's laugh was a broken thing. There is no with you. Not anymore. This is my fight, my mess. She stepped back, the distance between them growing with each breath. I need you to forget me. To forget we ever met. Oliver's grip tightened. How can I forget someone who taught me to see the stars again? Mia's heart shattered at the words, each syllable a shard of glass. You'll have to. She turned and ran, her footsteps swallowed by the night, leaving behind the man who held the key to her soul, and the lies that bound them together. Somewhere, a reporter's drone captured her silhouette against the moon, the final image in a story that wasn't over yet. The next morning, Willow Creek woke to a sight that made even the most jaded reporters gasp. There, on the town's main street, stood Oliver, perched atop a cherry picker borrowed from Mr. Patel's hardware store. A giant banner stretched across the road, its bold letters reading, I chose love over legacy. Will you forgive me? Below it, a smaller sign, Mia O'Connor, I see you. Always have. The media frenzy was instantaneous. Cameras flashed, microphones thrust toward Oliver, who stood unshaken, a single rose clutched in his oil-stained hand. This isn't about money or titles, he said, his voice amplified by a bullhorn Mrs. Thompson had, conveniently, lent him. It's about a woman who taught me that love isn't a transaction. And if she walks away now, it won't be because she's afraid of the truth, it'll be because I wasn't brave enough to fight for it. The speech was raw, unpolished, and exactly why Mia, watching from her apartment window, felt her resolve crumble. Outside, the crowd had gone silent, even the reporters pausing to witness something that felt genuine in a world of carefully curated soundbites. Somewhere in the back, Mia's father emerged from his black sedan, his face a mask of controlled fury. But Mia didn't see him. She saw Oliver, vulnerable, unapologetic, holding a rose that symbolized everything she tried to run from and everything she'd found. As she stepped into the hallway, her phone buzzed with a single text, I'll always see you. Oliver. The decision wasn't easy. It wasn't clean. But it was the first choice Mia had made that didn't involve running. As the dust settles in Willow Creek and the media circus packs its tents, Mia and Oliver stand not as symbols of scandal, but as testament to a quieter revolution. Love, they've learned, isn't found in headlines or inherited titles, it's forged in the choice to see and be seen, flaws and all. Mia's father may still command boardrooms, but his empire holds no sway over hearts that choose freedom over legacy. So, what moved you most in their journey? Was it the moment Oliver unfurled his banner, raw and unapologetic, turning vulnerability into a weapon? Or when Mia finally spoke her truth, not as the heiress but as a woman who'd found herself in the unlikeliest of places? And let's talk about that ending. Did you expect them to walk away from the chaos hand in hand, or were you rooting for a different kind of sacrifice? Share with us, what would you have done in Mia's shoes? Oliver's? And if you're hungry for more stories that blur the lines between rebellion and redemption, legacy and love, hit that subscribe button. Because the best part of Willow Creek's tale isn't just its happy ending, it's knowing there are countless other chapters waiting to be written, ones where we all get to choose truth over titles. So, what moved you most in their journey? Was it the moment Oliver unfurled his banner, raw and unapologetic, turning vulnerability into a weapon? Or when Mia finally spoke her truth, not as the heiress but as a woman who'd found herself in the unlikeliest of places? And let's talk about that ending. Did you expect them to walk away from the chaos hand in hand, or were you rooting for a different kind of sacrifice? Share with us, what would you have done in Mia's shoes? Oliver's? And if you're hungry for more stories that blur the lines between rebellion and redemption, legacy and love, hit that subscribe button. Because the best part of Willow Creek's tale isn't just its happy ending, it's knowing there are countless other chapters waiting to be written, ones where we all get to choose truth over titles.